Hello, and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today, we have Netflix's 99th film. It's the 2018 science fiction action film, Extinction. It's directed by Ben Young, and it stars Michael Pena, Lizzy Caplan, Mike Colter, Erica Tremblay, Emma Booth, and Israel Broussard. I am Jesse, and I'm here with my co-host MJ. How you doing, MJ?
You are here with me. Yes, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm excited to do a sci-fi film again. I feel like it wasn't that long ago we did one, so it's nice to have a couple sort of rolling all in at once, I guess. Type of
That's
film I
right.
like.
Yeah, Tao. Yeah, you do
Tao
like your
and
sci-fis. Yeah,
yeah,
I feel like we haven't had a ton of sci-fis in the first 99 Netflix original movies, but
mm.
I think they've got a nice place on Netflix.
Well, yeah, we've had Tao, and then we had How It Ends, and now we've got this one as well. And that's all been within the last sort of 10 episodes or so. So, yeah, we're getting a nice
Are you
little
saying How It
little
Ends wasn't a real
package.
depiction of how the world's going to end?
Well, if that's how we're predicting, so it's got to have a little bit of fiction in it. So yes, I am looking forward to this one because I know that you enjoyed, or you didn't enjoy, but you liked How It Ends a lot better than I did. I think we were both
Mm.
sort of similar with Tao, so I'm
hmm
looking forward to hearing where this one's going to fall with your thoughts because I can't predict it. I don't know what you're going to say.
Three really different films for what it's worth. I know, genre doesn't mean everything. Just because you like one genre, you're going to like every movie. But yeah, you're right. How It Ends, I think I liked more than the general public. I referenced a mate on that podcast who got my expectations down. He actually messaged me yesterday. He just listened to it, and he was so disappointed at me for not going harder on it.
I think I was questioning whether he was going to be disappointed in myself for not being able to put any proper thoughts together as well.
No. Well, I said like it's his fault for getting my expectations down, and then I didn't actually mind it. And then obviously I read what the rest of the world thought of it, and everyone hated it. So, and Tao, I think we both kind of enjoyed without setting the world on fire. It was just kind of all right.
Mm.
But all these three films are really different.
They are, but yeah. Again, yeah, like, this is something that I had heard of this one. I was sort
Mm.
of had been sitting in my watch list for a long time, and I was like, we'll eventually get there. So there's no point watching it prior, and we're here. So let's start off with our fast flicks, where you tell me what you think this film is about in a brief way.
Yeah, I'm not. This is we've done 99 of these, and this is going to be my worst. And I'm going to preface it by saying I would have a lot of trouble telling someone about this film. Um, so let me. My fast flicks is you got a family man who's played by Michael Pena, who has these continuous premonitions of an upcoming invasion before the events actually occur. But it is hard to do this film justice in a spoiler-free format.
Yeah,
Does that make
I
sense?
think that that is perfect way of putting it because you can't really spoil. Like, if you want to talk about this film, you're going to spoil it straight away
Yeah.
to actually try and put any context behind it. So, if you did want to check this one out, that's a good little warning for our
Mm.
audience to say, "Hey, give us a pause and come back because we're probably going to." Get into this very, very shortly and destroy the whole story for you. So yeah, I
Because without
completely agree.
spoiling it, it's a really boring elevator pitch. It's like, oh
Mm.
yeah, cool, I might check that out. It doesn't seem to be that good. I'm not saying it's amazing, but there's the main things that you take out of the film are spoilers. So that,
Good.
I would premise, and even if someone asks me what it's about, I'd say, look, I can't really do it justice without spoiling it, but this is what it's about, ish.
Good. Yep. Yeah, ish. I'm the same. I've said it's about a man who's trying to put meaning to visions that he can't shake and what these mean to his understanding of humanity and what it
Oh, that's
means.
actually really good.
Really? I don't know.
I like
I
that a
don't
lot.
I don't like putting the word "and" in the middle, but I was like, it's about this and it's about this, so I just wanted to sort of put that in there. Yeah.
No, that makes me interested to see that film. If you said that, I'd be like, okay, there's something there that I wouldn't mind. So, all right. No,
All right.
maybe I
Good.
just didn't put enough time and effort into my crappy
Nah,
one.
well, I guess the question for you then is, does that summarize the film okay? Like, I'm not too far off the track. It sort of gives a little bit of an understanding, I guess, to it.
Absolutely. And it takes out, probably one of the really main points that's it's important and doesn't really spoil it for anybody, but that gives you enough hope to be like, okay, I could enjoy this.
Okay, Good. All right. Let's sidetrack into what we've been able to find out about the making of this film. This one had quite a bit for a change. We've had a few where we haven't had an awful lot, but hit us off, MJ, with your understanding of how this one came together.
Yeah, you're right. There's a little bit of a story here, which is nice, and not a story that we haven't seen before. This has happened before with Netflix and some of the original films that we've done so far. So December 2013, this film got included into the 2013 blacklist. And again, we've had a lot of films that have been on the blacklist that have come out of that have come onto Netflix. But so the blacklist, as we've spoken about before, is a list of unproduced scripts that basically the world or Hollywood vote on as some of the best unmade scripts. So this was in the 2013 blacklist, and then in January 2014, so it wasn't there for long.
But did
It got
before
announced
you?
that
I was just going to cut you off. Sorry, but before did you see who was originally like linked with it in 2013? It was Joe Johnson, who directed Captain America, and James McAvoy. Like, so they had some big
well,
names on
that's
it
it.
early. Yeah. Sorry, I
So that
probably.
was January 2014.
Yeah.
Um, January 2014, Joe Johnston was linked to, or he actually signed to direct it. And as he said, Joe Johnston's done Jumanji, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Captain America, Jurassic
Yeah.
Park 3, October Sky. Like, this film is a different movie if James Johnston does it. And then September of 2016, so that's 2.5 years later, it was revealed that James McAvoy was actually in talks to play the lead in this film. So this could have been a Joe Johnston, James McAvoy movie, as you alluded to.
Yeah.
And that all fell down the toilet, really. So in October 2016, so it's been around for nearly 3 years, Ben Young actually signed on to direct the film. So Johnston had already left it. And in January 2017, so again, a few months later, that was when Michael Pena came on to take the James McAvoy role, which was never a confirmed role, but that's what they were trying. That's who they were trying to get. Um, and then in February 2017, so only a month later, Universal came on board. Universal Pictures, they got the worldwide distribution rights to this film. They had the production budget set. They were all ready to go. And they made the film, basically. So we obviously got the rest of the cast on board, which you mentioned earlier. The film was shot in Serbia over around 40 days. And in November 2017, so that's 6 months, give or take, from when they signed on and got everything ready to go, Universal basically pulled Extinction from its schedule. So they had no explanation. You can only assume that it wasn't trending in the direction they thought they were hoping for. It was probably potentially going to lose them some money with a theatrical release. So they pulled it in November when it was actually due for a January 26th theatrical release. So only a few months before it was supposed to release, they just completely pulled it. And after that, Netflix acquired the film from Universal in February of 2018, and they released the film in July that year. So we don't know how much Netflix paid for it, but I'm assuming Universal was happy enough to recoup, maybe not what they've lost, but they were happy enough to do that deal so that it would go on Netflix and wouldn't no longer be a Universal film. And this became a Netflix original film because of that.
Yeah, very good. I apologize for cutting you off earlier. I was like, I thought I might have found something that you didn't find, but you've proven me wrong as usual. You're very detailed, and I love listening to your narrative of how the films come together. So yeah, great little summary, and I think it's got one of those Netflix stories that think back to like Spectral. I think was another
That's the
sci-fi
first
film.
thing I thought of was Spectral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, had another very similar story. Yeah, I liked the. I've only got not much else from apart what you've shared, but just a couple of little things about when it was filmed. And there's a train scene in there, and uh, they filmed, like I mentioned, in Serbia, and this train didn't need any makeup at all because this is like what the train operates like in Serbia. And I thought it was cool that they used this underground station that was made for their metro lines, but had never been used. So they didn't even need to build any sets. So that was a cool little story behind it.
How's
And
that for location scouting, though? Big tick.
yeah,
It's like, we've also got this unused train station. I don't know if that's going to help in your plot at all. It's like, no, that's exactly what we need. We'll be there.
yeah, we mentioned Tau before. Was Tau filmed in Serbia as well? From memory, I feel like it was in
Oh,
a
you're testing
European.
me.
Yeah, yeah, but I just feel like this is an interesting little thing that we've got these sci-fi films that are being
True. Although
filmed
Tau
in
was
Serbia.
entirely
Internal
interior
locations.
shooting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other thing that this is sort of a spoiler sort of thing as well, but just these little spots throughout the film that people had picked up on about what may come in the film. And there's a scene where there's this big party and no one's eating, and I'm not going to say anything more, but I just really liked that they
You've
put
done the
some.
spoiler alert, and you know.
I'm not going to spoil it because I want to hold on. I want to hold on, but I like that too. So yeah, so you meant we're gonna hold on. I know you mentioned before,
All
like, so it hit Netflix in the end of July 2018. It was actually had a release in a film festival in October 2018 in Portugal. It's called the Doc Lisboa, and yeah, it's meant mainly a documentary film festival, but this played there as well. So I thought that was an interesting little thing that 3 months after it's already been on streaming, that it got a theatrical playing in a festival, which was
I'm
yeah,
glad that you
good.
found that because I noticed that it did have a box office, albeit minuscule, and
Mm.
I couldn't figure out why it had made money over the box office. So that obviously would explain that.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully that answers that one. The only other
Mm,
thing that I sort of had was it won an award.
mm,
For this is one of those awards that we hear quite a lot with Netflix films, which is the Golden Reel Award. So it won
mm.
the 2019 Motion Picture Sound Editors of USA Award for Outstanding Achievement in Sound Editing, Sound Effects, Foley, Music, Dialogue, ADR for a non-theatrical feature. So an award winner
That
off Netflix.
that's got to be a good win, especially for that team. Like I'm
Mm,
sure not every single just because it might not be a bigger award ceremony, they'd be pretty stoked with that award.
yeah, yeah. So that was a nice little pickup. I had a Netflix percentage match for this one as well, which I seem to be getting a bit
Yeah,
lately. Did you have one?
I did. Yeah,
Yeah. What did you get?
mine was 92.
Whew, wow. Did you
I
give the
know.
thumbs up thumbs up for how it ends or something?
I don't recall for how it ends or Tau giving it a thumbs up. Obviously, Arc. I gave Arc a thumbs up. I probably gave Spectral a thumbs up back in the day.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
92%. They think I'm going to love this.
yeah. Well, mine was also high, not quite as high as yours, but I was at 86. So uh, some
Oh wow,
high,
yeah,
yeah. So some very high predictions from Netflix on this one. So we're nearly there, where
yeah.
we'll let you know what we actually thought. But before we do that, let's look at some let's look at some consensus on this one. What were you able to find out from the critics and the audience?
Probably a tempered response from fan reaction for the film. So it's got a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb off 43,500 ratings. That's plenty of ratings.
Mm,
5.8 is not terrible. I mean, I think if you're getting over a 6, it's a good score. I'd be pretty happy with anything that's basically a 3-star or more relevant. So it's just under that. Letterboxd certainly didn't like it as much. That's a 2.5 out of 5 off just over 10,000 ratings.
mm.
Um, so just generally, that more filmy audience that we see on Letterboxd didn't really come to the party with this one.
Well, yeah. The Google users liked this one. This was an 81%, which
Hmm.
is we generally do see high ones, so that was good. But Rotten Tomatoes, this one was a bit lower than what we saw on the other sort of platforms, where it was at 39%. And this
Oh,
is a Rotten consensus. They had enough reviews to give it a consensus. It's on
oh no,
23 reviews. The audience also had it fairly low on 48%, and that was on a bit over 1,200. So
yeah,
on
right.
the lower end from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes for this one.
Yeah, not a hugely popular film if you look at that.
No. All right. Well, let's see whether you thought it was an okay film with your early thoughts on this one.
I'm excited that you don't know because we've watched obviously prior to doing these 99 movies that we've done on this podcast. We sort of talk film a lot, you and I, and we tend to have an idea of what we're going to like. And I like that you don't know, and I'm kind of just padding now, so you got to wait even longer to find
Well,
out. In general, I didn't mind it. It had some pros and cons, no doubt, but I enjoyed the twists in the story. Like really enjoyed the twists. I liked the topics and the questions around AI and the idea of what constitutes humanity. And I generally just like Michael Pena in most things, which always helps. But I also think the film just felt like it was lacking a little bit, and I was left wanting a little bit more. What that is, maybe we'll come to in this conversation because I can't quite put my finger on it. But I mean, all in all, I was pretty engaged throughout the whole film, and it had a really good runtime for what it was as well, which certainly helped too. So I generally liked it, without loving it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was concerned after that you liked how it ends a little bit more than I did, and I was thinking, oh, this one, it's got similar sorts of ideas a little bit, like tiny little bit about
Yeah,
survival and things like that. So I didn't know where this one was going to sit with you, whether you liked it more than that or less than that. So I guess that's where my confusion or
it's
inability
true.
to
Yeah.
read you sort of came to. But for myself, yeah, I was into this one like straight away. I
Good.
thought that the locations were good. Some of the visuals were a little bit of a letdown, but there were some good visuals. So, that's a 50-50 sort of ballpark for that. I like Michael Pena, and I really needed to know what these visions meant to him and where they were coming from. So I think that hooked me in to want to stick it out and work out, what were the meaning of these. So yeah, I'm positive on this one.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a general I am going to have to keep watching to find out kind of vibe with this film. And every time they reveal something, you're like, okay, now I need to know more, and that's a really good trait.
Yeah. Okay, time for us to look at some characters. So hit us off with Peter, MJ. I'm going to name him and shame him and say go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think there's a weird lens that you have to put on these characters once you discover that they're actually AIs,
Mm,
because initially I wasn't overly interested in any of them particularly. Um, they were fine, but not a lot jumped out, and I think that kind of makes sense and becomes normal once you know why. Um, so this is probably the most trouble I had with any characters that we've done, just because there's this disconnection, this kind of robotic vibe to them all, which I picked up without picking up, if you know what I mean. And then when we know why, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of maybe why I couldn't connect as well to any of the characters. But Peter in general, like on the whole, I think he was a good enough everyman for me to follow, and that placidness behavior that I spoke about kind of worked after it was revealed. But apart from that, there's just not a lot that jumped out with me with him.
okay. Yeah, I think yeah, I get that. Yeah, there was that sort of robotic like, and they start that off with this routine, I guess that he speaks of straight away, where he's got this work home family
Mm,
sort of thing, and I liked that he sort of questions who he is. He doesn't really know who he is at the start, so I enjoyed and wanted to see this reveal of him finding
mm,
out exactly who he is, I guess. And these visions helped with that, like I mentioned before, because they continually confused him, and they put this routine out that he thought was normal. And I liked the connection with the wife, not so much the kids, but I thought him and the wife
mm,
were really good. And they showed it early on that they weren't impressed with his lack of interest early, when he's so focused on trying to work out who he is and what these visions mean to him. And
mm,
this was highlighted to me, where he goes to this shop to buy this telescope, and he comes home, tells the wife, oh, it's for the kids sort of thing. But as the audience, this is really for him, because he's trying to
yeah.
search what's going on. And the even though and I liked that, because even though that's a little bit of a white lie, I guess, to the wife, he still sort of wants to still be upfront with her and the kids. And he's happy he does this with the kids when he fixes that monkey toy that doesn't talk. So he's sort
Mm,
of asking for this forgiveness, and he doesn't want to deceive her. Like, he goes to this whole life wellness center
mm,
thing where they're wiping memories or whatever. And he comes home and he tells her, look, I didn't speak to anyone. So I did
mm.
sort of enjoy this sort of little complexities, I guess, with him, and his motives of exactly what he wants to do, because family is important to him, but understanding who he is himself is also so important to him. And I liked that.
Yeah. No, I think that's really well captured, and I'm glad that it really worked for you. You want to
Yeah.
talk about Alice as well, because you kind of touched on her, and I don't want to stop your train of thought. You kind of would
Yeah.
delving into her as well.
Yeah. Good idea. So I like to see this. Uh, she was almost a strong female, even though she wasn't the lead character. She was still a strong lead, and they set her off as doing well at work, getting promotions, And I really like this line that she had with Peter, where she says, a husband who refuses to deal with the issues is scarier than his nightmares. So she's committed to this relationship, and we see her, when she does work out what's going on straight away. There's no pause or anything. She's like, "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you." So I just
Yeah.
and she was happy to go and kick ass with him as well, and get
Mm.
involved. So it was nice to see, rather than just the male guy going through doing everything himself. It was nice to see her there supporting him and being a part of it rather than just being a side character.
Yeah, you bang on there. I really agree with. I do like her ability to go, oh shit, this is what you were saying. Okay, what happens next? Okay, what do we do? All right, I'm on board. Like that was really nice. They didn't drag out with her not believing or anything like that. As soon as he was up front and she kind of figured it out, she was in, and that kind of made it more of that adventure movie than like
Mm.
this slow family drama.
Yep. Yeah. Good. Any other characters that you want to mention?
I definitely want to talk about Miles, who is the alien human guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
it it's interesting for me, and this is probably a really personal thing. I'm not sure everyone would have felt this way, but how quickly I flipped onto the side of humanity in this story, and I almost forgot that the humans, once I realized that they were humans, were basically performing genocide on innocent bystanders. I was all of a sudden, once this story got fed to me, I was like, okay, I'm a human.
Mm.
I want the humans to do well. And I think this lived through Miles, the fact that he showed that humanity that he had no reason to show. And I like his story around, we didn't know what to expect. I've grown up with knowing that you guys are the enemy, and seeing, I didn't come here to kill, families and children. I just, there's something about that character that I clung to straight away, that I didn't necessarily get with any other character, and that's the film for me got really interesting when his reveal sort of came to.
That's really good to hear because yeah, like I didn't have that. Like I know that he
Mm,
reveals the human side of things, but through his story as well, you hear that they've both committed crimes against each other, and I.
yeah.
I liked, and I didn't really side with him because I was like, you're both as bad as each other, and to me, it just sort of brought in this sort of analogy with race as well. I guess is that even though they may be different on the inside or on the outside or whatever it is, that they're all still the same functioning types of
Mm,
people. Just because what's on the inside a little bit is a little bit different doesn't mean that they shouldn't all get along or they shouldn't all be a part of this living on Earth together. So yeah, I agree with you that Miles was a very interesting character to look at because yeah, he gave you this side of things that you weren't quite seeing with the others so far. I'm
mm.
glad that that connection with you straight away was good.
Well, he's actually the only human that we see. And I think it's interesting that point that you make, and it's really similar around race, and it doesn't matter who you are on the outside. But the funny thing is that probably three of the main characters that you do like are Alice, Miles, and Peter, and they're fighting for different sides, but they're all deep down they're genuinely pretty good people. And it just goes to show that just because one side of a race is doing one thing, that doesn't reflect every single person in that race. And I think we're seeing, obviously, in the world right now, really similar things happening,
Mhm.
that people are lumping certain races. I want to use a different word than just race, but certain groups of people are getting lumped into the bad behavior of one or two, and that's
Mm.
something that we want to eradicate. And this film talks about that really well.
Yeah, and I completely agree because, like you said, you connect to these three people. They're all different, but they all want the same thing. They all want to be on Earth. And
Mm.
it's that issue that we have as a society we're constantly facing is how do we make this work? How can everyone get along when they all want the same thing? When there's so many different priorities and past histories that are taught and things that we we hear that aren't necessarily true or we don't understand the full picture.
And they can coexist. I mean, that's
Mm.
that they showed that so clearly, that despite the fact that Peter was trying to kill him, he still Miles still helped him and let him live. And I kind of really like that when they sort of just introduce themselves right at the end. That's real humanity right there. So
Mm. Mm.
yeah, it's really nice.
Good. I wanted to briefly just touch on the two daughters, Hannah and
Mm.
Lucy. A lot of stuff online. There is so much hate for those two characters and those two performances. And I kind of agree, and they are going to take up quite a few of my scenes that I didn't like. So, yeah, I don't know whether it was the performances, whether it was the role, but yeah, they didn't add anything. Those two daughters to me. I know you need to have kids to have that extra sort of incentive or motive to succeed and do what you want to do, but I'm not sure that the way they did it was 100% perfect.
I agree with you entirely. It I don't necessarily think it's the performance as much as it's the characters and the role that they had them play, and I think it was just completely over the top, and um, we just didn't need to see them screaming and crying in every single scene. That's
Good.
basically the crux of it.
Yep. Good. 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 All
Although,
right.
do you think that Hannah, so Hannah was the oldest girl, you know
Yeah.
how she loved being in the lift? Do you think that her, when she was, you know, I guess what's the word, programmed to serve people back in the old world, that she was like a lift person,
Yes. Probably.
like a
Yeah.
lift
That.
operator? Yeah.
Yeah. I had that as a question for later on, to be honest, because yeah, that, that whole like there's just literally this one scene of her in this lift, and yeah, I'm glad that you took that out of it because I was a little
I
bit
like it if
confused.
it's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's a good explanation. Okay. Director, should we Ben Young? Did you find
Benny
anything
Young.
out about yeah Ben Young? Anything about him that you found interesting?
I love the fact that he's Australian.
Yeah.
So from what I can gather, he directed a film in 2016 called Hounds of Love, which I'm not familiar with, but won lots of awards. It played at the Venice Film Festival, and that more or less got him the gig here. And that was the first time he'd ever been to America. And straight away, he's into a movie with Michael Pena and Lizzy Caplan. So apart from that, I think he's done a few shorts and whatnot, but. It's pretty cool. Just, we're Australian. We like to see a few hometown boys getting the job done.
Yeah, well, I have Hounds of Love on Blu-ray. If you did want to borrow it, I watched it. It was a random pickup for me at JB Hi-Fi one day. To be honest,
Right.
it was. I usually follow JB Hi-Fi just to see what releases are sort of coming out each week, and yeah, it would have been back 20. It was about 2016, I think, a couple of years ago,
2016, yeah.
and yeah, just I saw this film come up. I'm like, oh, I don't know much about it, and I popped into JB, and I was like, I'm going to buy a DVD or something today, and I was like, perfect, and I vividly remember buying it because it was wrapped in individually, like it was like a small little production. Like I just vividly remember, and the Blu-ray case was like not like the normal one; it was like a little bit of a cheaper sort of version. So
Ah,
if you
cool.
did, yeah, so I watched that when it came out or when I purchased it. So if you are keen to give it a crack, feel free to borrow it.
Did you like it? I think it's like over a 7 on IMDb.
Yeah, it's a nice little sort of horror-y Aussie film. It's got from memory, it's got Stephen Curry, like not
Yeah, I read
basketballer,
that.
but
Yep.
Aussie. Yeah,
No.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got him in it from memory. But yeah, I did watch it a few years ago, so my remembrance of the film isn't so great, but I do remember enjoying it. So yeah,
All right, I might add it to the list.
done. All right, let's get into our scenes where we start off with some scenes that we enjoyed. So what are some things that you liked in this one?
Yeah, I've got three. There early on, there was a scene. This is one of those films. I'll add before I start that there wasn't a lot of scenes that I didn't like, that I liked or didn't like. I just kind of watched it, and everything was okay. And then there were a few highlights and a few lowlights, but it wasn't one where I was just like, "Oh, that's amazing, that's memorable, that's awesome." So I'll preface it with that. But I really liked at the beginning when Peter was waiting in the waiting room, and the bloke told him about the exact same thoughts that he was having, and told him that they wanted to erase his thoughts. I was like, "Hello, where's this coming from? I didn't know this is going to be like a conspiracy movie. There's obviously something to it." So that got me excited. It probably took 20, 25 minutes to get to that point, but I was pretty excited when that happened.
Good.
The first invasion scene, well, I guess the invasion scene, that was awesome. And I guess you could almost argue that the invasion scene kind of goes for like 40 minutes, but just the initial idea of it happening, and I like the fact that they kind of killed people off really quickly to show how serious it was, and I kind of felt like I was watching, this kind of more serious Die Hard, or even like No Escape from a few years ago, and that got me pretty up and about. It kind of slowed a little bit from there, but It was a pretty good initial scene.
Yeah, it was like constant. That fight, like, well, the invasion, I guess, like you mentioned, from when it lands, it doesn't stop. It just continues,
Yeah,
even
true.
if it's in the background at times. Yeah, it doesn't stop. So yeah, I thought that was good too.
And this, I mean, this is just the reason that the film probably went up a notch was that amazing twist. And I don't know about you, but I had no idea that they were AI and they were humans that came in. It's funny because when they took the helmet off and we saw a human under there, I was actually a little bit let down because I was kind of hoping for an alien invasion. I love my alien movies, and I was like, oh, okay, it's just some dude from another country, and it's just like these really sophisticated, armor, and all right, now it's not the movie I thought it was going to be. And when he kind of said like, "Do you not know what you are?" I was like, "It's what's going on?" And I was kind of looking at her insides. I'm like, "That looks a bit. Hang on." And I was just like, "This is incredible." I was completely hit for six. It took everything to a whole new level of intrigue, and I just needed more, and it was great. It was a great
Yeah,
twist. It was an awesome twist. It has to be said.
good. I agree. I'll talk about it a
Did
little
you
bit
did
more.
you pick it?
No, no. So I'll
Oh,
yeah, I've
good.
got a. I'll give when I get to my scenes. I'll sort of say it in a different way, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm done now. It's up to your
Oh,
seats.
okay. All right, good. Yeah. So I like the setup at the start. Just there's a lot of these high angle shots of this futuristic sort of these that look like futuristic buildings and his workplace. And I thought that the way that they set up these settings and locations was really cool. And it sort of got me in the mood straight away to be like, okay, this isn't exactly the society that we're used to. So yeah, so I liked that and got me in the mood straight away. I thought the visions throughout, like I mentioned before, they were just popping up every time. They kept me intrigued, and I was just
Mm,
looking out for when are these going to come back, or when are we going to see these again. So I thought they were really cool. I enjoyed the at that party at their sort of apartment or whatever you want to call it, where Peter has this conversation with the neighbor on the balcony and sort of talks about looking in this wrong direction because he's so focused on the sky and how he should be focused more on the family and at home. And I just like that as soon as that sort of invasion happens, that switch is I'm protecting my wife, I'm making sure that she survives. I'm
mm,
thinking in the back of my head that my kids are waiting for me. Like I just really like that quick switch that he's gone, okay, these visions don't really mean anything anymore because what I was seeing is happening. So now I just need to focus on the
mm.
family. So I thought that was cool. Uh,
Nice one.
yeah, there's a scene where one of the kids, I can't remember whether it was Hannah or Lucy, was under the table, and there was just this, and this is when
Mm,
we sort of first see this human alien dude, and this point of view shot with him walking around with the gun of the kid, and it was just like this tension was really really good, and then with the mum coming in, and then being the final hero. Yes, the dad comes in and starts him
mm.
off, but she comes in and smashes that helmet and finishes him off, well, sort of for the time being, and I just really liked that. I thought it was nice that they didn't just leave it to the dad to be the savior. I thought that was cool.
That's a really good point. It annoys me in movies when things like that happen, and there could be like a 2-on-1 scenario with these kind of fights, and the mum or whatever will just like grab the kid and run away or something. When I'm just like, hang on, they're both on the ropes here. You can just come in and do the final hit. So I appreciated that that's exactly what happened here. Because I mean,
Yeah.
come on, in real life, even if you don't think that you're going to be able to be any good in a fight, if you got someone down, but then the bloke on your side's down as well, just do whatever you can to finish it off. So I was impressed with that as well.
Yep, I agree. And this is another sort of visual sort of thing that I liked, where the family sort of they drop down into this tunnel under the ground, and the alien human dudes chasing them, and they sort of hit the gas pipes or whatever they are, and it creates like this smoky sort of environment, and you just
Mm,
don't know where the guy in the helmet is or where Peter is. It just created this tension for me that was really really good. And I was just like when there was that first sort of bang, it sort of got me a bit. That was really cool. Um, I liked when they're on the run and they arrive at Peter's work, and Alice is injured, and this sort of leads into what we're talking about where with this twist or this reveal. And I like when she comes straight through the door that they do this scan on her and her body, and
yeah.
to me that misled me so well. Like I was like, oh, it's like she's infected. Like these guys turn them into the aliens or whatever they are, or the what
Ah.
whatever they are. So that was a good mislead for me because I was like, oh, they're scanning her, they can see that she's been infected. She's got whatever it is. They need to isolate her away from everyone else. And then obviously when when we see what happens next, like that was such a good twist. I thought that was really, really good. And the when Peter cuts into himself, that got me again as well, that he had the lungs, because I just thought the wife was this electronic or this, the
Ah,
AI
did you?
element. So,
Okay.
so it got me again, like, and the camera work there where it just does this full spin around, and
Mm.
it just got me thinking. I'm like, oh my god, so she's AI, he's AI, synthetics or whatever they are. And I was like, oh, this is good. This got me really good. And like I meant, I didn't have any inkling whatsoever about what was going on. So that was nice.
That's
And
good. I'll go back to
yeah,
what you said about them scanning her because I thought I just put that down to like, oh, this is just some sort of futuristic device that you can scan someone's health with and pick
mm,
out what's wrong with them. It didn't even click with me. But I did when he said, because he said to her, "Do you not know what you are?" That's what I knew. I'm
mm,
like, oh my god, they're all AIs. And I kind
yeah,
of figured it out all then and there, but it was just a wonderful twist. You're right,
yeah.
wonderful twist.
Yeah, good. And the last one that sort of got me thinking again, it's just a thinking scene, is when they get outside and they find the two girls, and this is like one of the visions where they find the two girls with the dead parents, and it
Mm,
just made me think again. Okay, so this is how these girls are connected to these parents, and
mm.
I just liked that I was on my toes the whole time trying to connect what was going on.
Well, then you start to realize that all these visions that you've seen aren't premonitions; they're
No,
actually memories, and they tie it up really nicely because he's like, hang on, I'm bloody sure that I saw them dead on the ground with the girls crying next to them, and they substitute that really nicely.
yeah, good. Yeah, all right. Well, that's me done with the things I liked. So, what are some things that you maybe didn't like in this one?
Um, you kind of mentioned how when he came back, you liked the fact that he told her that he didn't go in to see um, a therapist or whatever it was going to be that was going to wipe his memory.
Mm,
It annoyed me that he didn't tell her about the guy in the waiting room because because
yeah.
to me it was like I didn't go because someone is having the exact same flashbacks that I'm having, and
Mm,
he told me not to do it because they're wiping our memory. And I actually I appreciated the bit where he's like, but I got to do this because I can't keep doing this. But
mm.
I like that it happened, and then he didn't tell her, which just kind of felt stupid. I don't like when people do stupid things in movies for the sake of the plot, so that annoyed me.
It was more to build up that tension with the
I
relationship,
know,
I think.
I get
Yeah.
it, but like Peter was
Yeah, no.
actually super honest with her.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
and I'm going to do an all encompassing the kids drove me crazy kind of
yep,
comment. Just
yep.
it was just too much all the time. Like especially the older one was old enough to know just shut up when you're trying to like hide from someone and not cause any attention. Just man up for just a little bit and be quiet because it was just nonstop and it was ridiculous. So and
Yeah,
again, I don't
good.
think that's an acting problem. I think that's a choice that they made. So
Yeah, good. That's the first thing that I had on my list, is literally every scene with the two girls screaming, crying, or being scared was
mm,
just it was frustrating, to say
it
the
was,
least.
yeah.
Yeah. There was a scene where they're on the rooftop and they get into this window cleaning sort of cart on the side of the building.
Oh yeah, yep.
The CGI in that was so poor. It's almost a scene that you don't need. If you don't have the budget to do the special effects, just get them down a level some other way. Because it looked really, really poor, really poor.
Yeah, yeah, you're right actually.
And I guess the scene where the alien human Miles dude starts working on Alice, just the blood and guts in that got me a little bit. I was like, oh, gross. So that's just just a little nitpicky thing that I didn't like. And final thing was the train scene at the end. This is similar to the cleaning cart. The
Yep.
effects of that train rolling away with everything crumbling behind just looked quite fake.
It was
It was like,
atrocious.
yeah, it was like going back to playing PS1 or something, and the graphics on an old video game system.
So I wasn't sure if it was supposed to look machine like because they are machines effectively. Because it looked like a model set. Like
Yeah.
you could tell, and I don't know whether I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt of okay, so they think like machines, so they've built this thing out to work it a certain way, but it looked so bad.
Well, especially when the train in that sort of subway was such a main, like you'd seen it so many times already. So then to transition into a shot where it looks so unrealistic, I was like, yeah, it just didn't
Mm,
work.
yeah.
Oh, all right, that's me done. So this is the time where we have a look at anything that the film was trying to say, some themes, some ideas. So hit us off, MJ.
Yeah, there's a fair bit happening here, and we sort of spoke about it before, but I like the idea of the how we treat one another, and particularly that fear of the unknown, and just because it is unknown doesn't mean it's wrong or it's bad, and don't judge someone, on face value. And I guess that's initially what happened with the humans with the AI, and then on the flip side, the AI, when they just completely turned on the human, like there's just better ways to go about it, and I kind of like that exploration of that in this whole film.
Yeah, it's very similar because yeah, it's this idea of being alien. Because at the start,
Mm,
we're fearful of these people with these helmets because we think they are alien, and they're not really. They're very very similar. So it's what makes people better than others, I guess. When people are people, we are the same, I guess. Even though, like I spoke about this before, but
mm,
yes, there's differences, but we are sort of the same. We want the same thing. And it's just this fear constantly of people worried about being replaced or being taken over, or so you build up that defense straight away where you're like, anything that's a little bit different is wrong, where
yep.
we need to focus more on these similarities rather than the differences. And yeah, the other thing, I guess, is survival. Like this is just a genuine survival film too, where they're doing their best just to
Hmm.
survive. And that's
Yeah, you're
all I
right.
love. Mm,
I also think it talks about family and what makes a
mm,
family, because it obviously doesn't have to be blood to be a family. Like these four people kind of just got thrown
mm.
together and were forced to be a family, and the love and the compassion and the emotion that comes out of these four people to fight to stay alive for each other is, as palpable as any family unit you'll see on screen. So,
Yeah,
you
great
don't
point.
actually have to be a proper family to be a family.
Yep, love it. But yeah, really good. Yeah, that family is always a nice thing that brings everything together.
Yeah.
All right, what did we take away from this one? What did you take from this?
Well, to me, I take out the twist. I don't think I can talk about this movie without talking about how good that twist was, and I think the twist kind of puts it on the map for me, because otherwise, I kind of worry that this isn't actually all that memorable. And as I kind of said, I never really felt a massive connection to it, despite enjoying, a lot of the elements of it. Well,
Mm,
I didn't feel that connected to it, but that twist is. I mean, sometimes you go to a movie to feel a certain way, and that twist came, and I'm like, oh, this is such a nice feeling. Thank you for getting me. Thank you for fooling me. And um, I really, really enjoyed it. But the problem with the twist is you can never talk about it with anyone unless they've seen it.
yeah,
You
seen it.
can't
Yeah.
say, "Hey, this film's got a great twist." Because I hate it when someone says that, because then you're waiting for a twist.
Yep. Yeah. I've literally got very very similar thoughts because I this was I don't know, maybe I was just in the mood where I wanted a film that made me think a bit, and this one did. And yeah, the
Mm,
twist was so enjoyable, and that
mm,
added to my overall enjoyment of it as well. So I also think this one would have been good in a dark cinema on a big screen. Like it just just that the feels of a dark room with this end
mm.
of the not end of the world, but like this sort of you know
Invasion.
invasion battle scenes, the tension. It just would have been really really good in a cinema.
Oh yeah, you can tell it was made for the big screen, which it obviously was, with Universal having it slated to release on January 28th. So.
Mm. Correct. All right. IMDb time. Did you go on IMDb at all to check anyone out?
I did, but I kind of did this after watching the movie. I didn't jump on it during, but um, and I don't know if it's because when I saw Miles when he got revealed the first time, I think in my head I just knew who it was, and then it wasn't until afterwards that I was like, "Hang on, who was that?" And it's he plays Josh in "To All the Boys I've Loved Before."
Ah,
So he's the I think he initially dates Lara Jean's sister, and then she nicks off, and then like they've always had like a thing for each other. He's a next door neighbor. They've always had a thing for each other.
no, cool.
As soon as you
Good
see
pickup.
photos of him from that movie, you'll know. But yeah,
You
that
know,
was him.
yeah. Well, if anyone wants to
Israel
hear
Broussard.
Israel Broussard, that's yeah. Well, if anyone wants to listen to our episode on "To All the Boys I've Loved Before," that's in about 4 episodes' time. So, get excited to have a re-listen to that one. Spoiler alert: we have recorded that one previously, and we're not doing it again.
We're almost up to
um,
it, actually.
Yeah, 4 episodes. That's it. That's we're
Yeah.
there. So IMDb for me, I know that last week when we did sort of the intro for this one that we spoke about Lizzy Caplan, and you mentioned that she's in Castle Rock,
Hmm.
season 2, and
A bit more than that.
I haven't. Yeah, well, I haven't. I've got it sitting there. I'm a big Stephen King fan. Haven't watched it yet, so I did IMDb her, but not for that. She was in Cloverfield, and as soon
Yeah,
as I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay, she's the chick from Cloverfield. So that was my IMDb. My IMDb.
she's also the chick from Mean Girls as well,
Mm. Yeah, so
the
very, very
friend of whatever.
very familiar face.
Yeah,
Good. Okay, question time. Have you got any questions that you would like to ask me?
this is a good one. I've got a good one. I'm going to say it straight away. It's a good one. So obviously, when the big first war happened and all the humans fled, why do you think they wiped all of their own memories? Was it to make them feel more human? Because if so, does that contradict the ability for AIs to exist purely as AIs? The fact that they can't live that life without knowing that they're AIs, like, why would they have done it in the first place?
Good. Yeah, I had a very, very similar question for you. I don't know how to answer this one because this wiping the memories, I guess, just kind of answering your question is they think that they're going to be free of guilt by doing that. And but yeah, my counter argument to that, I guess, almost is like that we learn from mistakes and we learn from pain.
Mm.
So why, yeah, like why do they do it? Like, would you do it? I wouldn't want to do it. I'd want to be able to know that they're coming back at some stage, so we should be
Yeah,
prepared.
that's the thing,
There's no
and they
point in
wanted to
having
be prepared.
yeah, there's no point in having some tiny little resistance, sort of little camp that are
Mm.
ready to fight when no one else is. When you could have this huge army, I guess. So yeah, I agree. It's a weird one.
So I think the argument almost is that it made them feel human. Like they did not know that they were AIs, and to me, that kind of, as I said, contradicts the ability for us to say that, hey, AIs can function in society. It's like, oh no, they can only do it if they don't know they're AIs. So
Yeah,
that's a kind of bit of a head scratcher.
good. I agree. I got one. Have you got any more? Sorry, shouldn't cut you off.
The only other one I wanted to ask is, how do you think they navigated the aging thing? Because obviously they didn't question that none of them were getting older, or did they just not know that getting older was a thing?
Yeah, so like they didn't really explain like why is he starting to get these visions again. So is it that everyone just gets these visions again, and then they just get their memory wiped when they start getting more regular and more
Well,
intense? So then
potentially,
they
yeah.
they just go back and they think the time's still the same. So
Well, it's been 50 years, hasn't it? Didn't they say?
yeah, well, so obviously those kids haven't aged, so and that's I guess that goes back to the opening line where he's talking about this routine and it's just wake up, home, work sort of thing. So I get yeah, if there's this big business that continually and they showed these little flashes where they had the family having their memory sort of wiped. So I'm guessing it's just something that they have to regularly do to bring them back to where they are, I guess, so that they
Mm,
think time
yeah.
sort of stays the same. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you can sort of figure it out. Just
yeah.
something that I wanted to discuss.
Good. So the twist we've both said that we enjoyed this twist. Was there anything about it that confused you, or do you think that there were parts about it that were left open wide enough? Like, and are you happy with the ability for you to just like what we're talking about now? I guess is just imagine and work out the rest for ourselves.
Well, to be honest, I think a lot of it was answered. I
Yeah,
almost think that they did too much of a job telling us how it all happened, because as soon as I sort of figured out the twist, I was piecing it together in my head and it all kind of worked, which is what makes it a great twist. But then they went and basically showed everything about Michael Pena or Peter going through that situation where they do have this kind of siege initially, and they show all the humans leaving, and they show them finding the girls, and they show them getting their memories wiped and going to their new home and all that kind of stuff. So they basically spelled it out for you eventually. But
yeah, good.
and like the smaller details, yeah, I'm happy to piece together. I wasn't left wanting, if that's the question.
Good, and that's what I was hoping because that's why I liked this more than I liked how it ends the other week because this gave me closure, whereas that one didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I enjoyed this one a bit more. Okay. I don't know if this question even makes sense. I wrote it down as I was watching it, but we'll see how we go. So, and this is more to do with that family sort of idea, and um, his focus throughout the film about trying to work out what these visions are. So, what if the focus needs to be outside your family unit so that you can ensure that you can focus on them later on? Do you think that that's a good way of living? That, or do you need to be able to balance these between?
Ah.
Because yeah,
Yeah, okay. I think yeah, okay. I think you need to balance them a lot better because I mean, in this situation, he was not lucky, but what he thought was going to happen actually did happen. But if you focus too much time and energy on stopping what might happen, then you don't live in the now. And he wasn't living in the now, and he was drifting apart from his family. So for this
because
story, it works, but in general, I don't think it's great advice.
yeah, because I think that there's possibly his boss, that David dude, that gives him the number to go to this place where they wipe the memories. I think that like
Mhm.
I had a like in my head, how many times has he given him this number and how many times has he been
Yeah.
resistant to it? And I'm like, why is it that this time? Obviously, he
Mm.
had that conversation with the guy there, but how have they prevented in the past from people being able to prevent themselves from going to that, and obviously that's where we get to this stage. So I just thought it was an
That's a good
interesting
question,
sort
though.
of interesting sort of little view on what's going on, because that
Which is
guy
why
who
I think it's important that they've got that scene where the guy tells him, "Hey,
mm,
they're wiping your memory. You should be having," and he's having the same images, like because otherwise you just assume that he goes there. Maybe he does have resistance every time, but eventually he still goes there and gets it done.
yeah, and like why is this guy so happy to just walk off and have it done? Is it because he wants to feel this guilt free, and he's got to that stage again where he knows too much and he's like, I'm ready to wipe it. um
Yeah, that's what he said though. He
yeah,
goes, "I have to get it done. I
yeah,
can't live like this anymore."
yeah. So yeah, I thought that was, I liked that. That was cool. Last one
Yeah,
I sort of have, the song over the credits. That was, I guess I could have put this in the IMDb almost. I was like, that voice sounds so familiar. That was sung by JoJo. Do you remember JoJo? This is
I
a
do
blast from the
remember
past.
JoJo.
That song, the "Leave, Get Out Right Now" song.
Leave. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh
remember
wow.
that.
So yeah, she sang the song over the credits, and I was just like, that is a blast from the past.
Is it a
Yeah, I'm glad.
recent song?
Well, it was a song for the film. So yeah. So
Oh, really? So she's
yeah.
still doing stuff.
Yeah, she's still doing stuff. So I thought that was quite a little blast from the past. That I was like, that voice sounds so familiar. Oh
That's a
god.
great pickup, Jesse.
I looked it up. I didn't pick up the voice myself. So
No, but you
I,
you you recognise it.
yeah. Good. Okay. Time to move on from my past liking of JoJo's music. So this is the part of the show where we wrap it up. We give the film a rating out of 5, and then work it out for an average for us. So MJ, what are your final thoughts for this one?
Yeah, I actually like so much of this film on a surface level. I think it's clever. I think it had an interesting concept. I enjoyed the commitment to the twist. I like that you can understand why certain behaviours seemed off, and I think it's one of the better blind sides that I've had in a while. There was still something lacking though, whether it be that emotional connection to the characters or the plot, or potentially this unfinished feeling to the story. Either way, I enjoyed the movie without having my socks blown off, and I can sneak it up to a 3-star rating.
Nice. 3. Well, that's higher than a lot of other people are saying, so that's a positive. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really got into this one. I thought the performances were pretty good, apart from the younger members of the cast, like we've mentioned before, and like I said, like we said too, was, don't know if it's the performances or the roles. And I desperately wanted this resolution for these nightmare visions that Peter was having, and I got that, so that made me really happy. Unlike how it ends from the other week, which I've referenced already. This one, I felt satisfied at the end and happy with this one. So I'm giving this one a 3.5 out of 5, which gives us a average of
Good man.
3.25, which is pretty high for our
It's
averages.
good. It is good, actually. I wasn't expecting this one to get
Yeah,
a 3.2.
no, that's quite large. So we are on social media. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. We're on there, so feel free to reach out to us. And the question that I pop
Mhm.
up this week for pondering for thought was, who do you sympathize with the most, the humans or the synthetics? I think I know you've already answered.
Oh,
You've answered this one.
it,
I feel,
I have.
yeah.
Rightly or wrongly, I think
Um,
it's the humans for me.
Yeah, I was more on the side of the synthetics. So, and
Yeah.
that wasn't because I was connecting with humanity. That was because I was connecting with how they were being treated at that stage. And obviously, they treated the humans that way in a different stage. But yeah, I think that's not a bad little thought to think about. You might connect with
Yeah.
both
Oh,
of them.
mine's based on one character though, who did a hell of a lot right. So
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's good. All right. Well, we're back again next week, and next week is our 100th episode. Obviously, we've done
wow.
more than 100, but it's the 100th chronological order that we set out to start off with, where we're going to go back to the start and dig in this big sort of hole of Netflix crap and wonder.
100.
And we have a film which is a 2018 Indian Hindi language action comedy film. And I'm
Ooh,
going to stuff
action
up a
comedy.
lot of action comedy. I'm going to stuff up a few of the pronunciations here, so I apologize, but it's called Bri Mohan Amara, and in translation that
What?
comes to Long Live Bri Mohan. It's directed by Nicole Bratt. It stars Arjun Mathur, Nidhi Singh, Sheetal Thakur, Mana Vij, Sunny Hindura, Virant Kohli, and Yogendra Tikku. So give that one a
Virat
crack
Kohli.
before next year. Yeah. No, sorry. Did I say that? I said Vijant Kohli. Did I say
Sorry, I
Virat
was going
Kohli?
to say the
I did.
Indian
Yeah.
cricket captain is
Yeah, no,
is dipping into some Hollywood stuff.
I always try to rush through and then I stuff up, and I practiced these before and I thought I had them down pat, but I've stuffed
No,
them
I
again.
think
So
you said it right. I think it's just
all right.
I just did it.
So yeah, so that's our 100th episode next week, which I'm quite
No way.
excited for. Even though I don't know what
No,
the
me
film's like,
too. I
but
can't wait.
yeah, it's going to be exciting. So yeah, as usual, good times. I'm glad that we both enjoyed this one.
That was good chat.
Sure was. So yeah, I will see you next week.
You certainly will. I'm looking forward to it.